Oh, wonder-working power in the precious...
Incredible as they seem, are not the results of mass hysteria.
You may wish to adjust the dial. You're currently tuned into the wrong station. Chapter 1. The Raid. A power sword can do terrible things to the human body. She turned the weapon in her hand, a cool handspan of 32-inch ceramic with a rounded point and heavy cylinder pommel. In less than 2 minutes, it would tear through another human being. Maybe a weapon like it would tear through her. She shifted in the fallen needles. Her ceramic armor muttered, its soft clack of scales lost in the sound of wind in cold pines. 8 men were seated at a fire in the clearing ahead, sheltered from rain or snow by the downturned nose of their shuttle. They wore heavy armor and good Empire weapons. Slavers, chartered by some reputable traffic house on Oyam or Viminac. This was hostile territory, but they were calm, passing around a bottle of liquor. This was a bad sign. It meant they'd only just landed. They didn't know their hornet's nest was kicked already. It meant they weren't the slavers Bleda and her volunteers were hunting. "I want to come with you," her son had told her. She glanced down the line. Her comrades spread into the darkness of the woods, the nearest barely seen by the haze of the slavers' fire. She didn't whisper her suspicions to the comm. They were too close to enemy ears. And the others were all like her anyway. They weren't here to rescue Thyra. Not really. They were all licking blackened teeth in the dark, with their hands working at the hilts of swords and pistols. They were here for themselves. "Why is it so important to you?" she'd asked her boy. Larrick was friends with Thyra's brother. She'd expected him to say so. But it was all identity for him. "I'm a Volth," he'd told her simply. He'd been carrying his father's sword. Now a voice murmured in Bleda's earpiece. "Roysha. I'm on the far side. Ship's unlocked. Action in less than 10. Bleda drew a slow breath, counted to 5, then levered herself into something like a sprinter's crouch. She felt, more than saw, the other Volths do the same, one after the other so no one at the fire would sense large movements in the dark. She kept her eyes on the plasteel bubble of the ship's turret. The slavers weren't stupid. They had 1 man stationed at the full caliber inside. As she watched, this half-seen slaver called over his shoulder to someone inside the ship, shaking his empty beer can. Bleda was already moving when Roysha stepped from the darkness and put a bolt of gold light through his chest. The flash and scream of the pistol. The slavers of the fire were on their feet, but the edge of Bleda's shield was already crunching an orbital bone, grinding dirt from the forest floor into a slaver's pulped eye. She flicked on her power sword, and its rim of gold fire sprang alive just as she thrust it into the slaver's breastplate. Organs exploded. Then she raised the body and sheltered behind it as bullets turned to spall against her overshield. The dead man was shredded to rags as she drove forward. Her overshield crackled out, but she was already shearing down through a sword arm, driving her shield into someone else's jaw. "Scatter!" someone shouted, and Bleda threw herself to one side as the full caliber roared behind her. Suddenly the air was full of choking dust, and she was scrambling to her feet on the other side of the shuttle's nose. Without even thinking, she crashed up the ramp and down metal corridors that rocked from the recoil of the heavy gun. It smelled of septic sprayed with bleach inside. Roysha was lying crumpled in the hall. Her killer was framed inside the turret by the muzzle flash. He never saw Bleda coming. She stepped over her friend and with no hesitation drove the power sword out to the front of his face. Cooked brains steamed on the inside of the glass. Cooked blood oozed black from the coin slot of the slaver's face. Then everything was quiet. If you want to hear what happens next, you can find this full episode of The Wrong Station and more wherever you stream your podcasts. You can also join us on Patreon for bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and ad-free feeds. And however you support the show. Thank you, and enjoy.